Hello friends, welcome to Edwiki Learning channel. Please do subscribe to get more updates on the DevOps concepts. This video is part of the full course AWS DevOps Practitioner training. Please do check the description below to get the link for the complete full course. Without further delay, let's get into the video. Thank you. Welcome back team, and we will be continuing our Python concepts, right? So I have taken one requirement like stopping the EC2 instances on AWS, and we are now working towards that and keep improving our code, right? So even initially did it, I did this, no, I mean to say I did the 4 lines of code, and that took care of stopping my servers, right? But still, what is that I'm doing? I'm just keep on improving the stuff. As part of that, I'm trying to cover some of the Python concepts too, right? Because if I cover the concepts just like that as a uh, general syntaxes, right, it will be hard to understand the requirement, right? So that's the reason, as part of the requirement, I'll be trying to cover some of the concepts. Okay, and I hope you guys are excited. And yes, uh, now there is a code that we have written already, right, which is already working, right? So this is the Python code that we have, right, which is actually working well to stop the EC2 servers, correct? What is our goal, guys? Our goal is to stop the servers, whichever the servers are having the tag called web server, not all the servers, right? That is my goal. Some of you may be still thinking that why we are struggling so much here to write a code to stop the server. We can go to AWS and stop it, right? Here we are trying to work it out for 3 servers or 2 servers just to understand how to write a program, right? So when it comes to the real time, it will be a hundreds of servers running in AWS, 200, 300 servers running. Now, if I ask you, hey, can you stop the servers having so and so tag? I can't go and check all the servers, whichever the server having the tag, right? Getting me? The way how it will be useful tomorrow. So you write a Python program, and the program will go and loop the whole bunch of servers and will do the needful for you, right? That's how the automation will be more helpful rather a manual tasks. Okay. Now let me do some improvements for today's session, guys. The first improvement that I'm doing is same thing. I think whatever the best practices that I talked about in Terraform, I'm following the same strategy again and again now also, but with a different syntaxes, right? So help me, guys. What is the other best practice that I followed in Terraform? Rather keeping the entire code it into one single file, we splitted it into multiple files, right? Let's say when you are keep on adding some code, the code length will be go higher and higher, right? So if more number of lines in one single file, it's very hard to manage the file. It's very hard to debug the code and the things. So probably it's best idea to split it into a multiple files, right? So each file will have a specific use case. That's how it will be, right? Yes, I can follow the same strategy in Python as well. So what I do is the actual business logic, whatever is there, right? This business logic, let me move it into another file. What I do is I'll just copy this business logic. This is a function, right, guys? What? So what did I told about this stop? So this is actually a function, right? So the functions will start with the def, which is the definition or which is the declaration of your function, and you keep the code within the function, and that will be executed whenever you are calling the function, and we can pass the arguments if need be, right? So what I'm doing is I'll just take this function and I'll keep this function in a separate file. Okay, so I'll just cut it here. I'll just create a one more file. Let's say this is the stop function. I'll say stop.py. The name of the file can be anything, not a worry, right? Maybe I'll just say that this is the EC2 stop, right? So the name could be anything. Now let me keep it in this file, guys. Okay. Now even the function name also can be anything, right? That you like it. So as of now, it is having stop as the function. Good. Now when you have multiple files, right? Which file you will be executing when you are trying to execute a program, correct? Let's say whenever you run the Python command, Python and main.py, correct? So always you will be executing only one file, right? So if I'm executing the main.py, from the main.py, you should be able to execute the code that is there in the other file as well, correct? So that's how you need to do the linking, right? So here in the main.py, I'm actually calling the stop function. Help me, guys. The stop function is in my same main.py code? No, right? I just moved it into a different file, correct? Previously it was in the same file, but now I just moved it into a different file, correct? So this main.py will be get failed. You see now, let me execute this main.py. Let me see the error as well. Interesting. So this is just ignoring since the Python function is not there. Sorry, I did not save this. You see the white color bubble, guys, here. So that it says that the file is not saved. So whatever the code that I have moved into a different uh, file, right, that is not saved. Let me save the file. Hope you are following me, right? Now let me execute the code one more time. So this is complaining that, hey, you are trying to call the function called stop and the function is not defined. That means it is not finding the function called stop. Why it is not finding the function? Because the function is not in the same file. The function is in a different file. Now, how do I get that function invoked it into a main.py file, correct? So whenever, right, whenever you have written a Python code, the file name is called as a module, okay? The name of the file is called as a module. Inside the file, whatever the function that you have defined, that is called as a method, right? Now, main.py is my main program which I wanted to execute. This main.py now should able to invoke the function that is there in another file, right? So technically, it is going to invoke the stop method, which is in stop method, which is in a different module. The module name is EC2 stop. All what you need to do is now you need to import. What is that I'm importing, guys? I'm importing a module. This time the module is not the one which you installed and configured, right? So my module name is EC2 stop. The name of the file is called as a module and I'm actually importing my module here. So the import statement will go to the ec2 stop.py and it will try to get this whole bunch of code it into a main.py. That is how I'm importing it. In fact, the import boto3 also doing the same thing. The only difference here is boto3 is the set of code that you have not written, right? The AWS has already written a module for you. You actually install and import it from there, right? But in this case, EC2 stop is the module which I have written and I kept the actual code here only and I'm just importing it, right? So now I just imported the module, right? So how will you call this stop function? The stop function, now this is not a function, this is called as a method. That's the difference between function and method, right? If the function is declared in its own file, then that is a function. If the function is actually imported from the different file altogether, then that is called as a method. Just a terminology differences, just to understand, right, where exactly the function is declared. Got me? Now, in order to call the stop function, we need to specify that, hey, the stop function or the stop method is actually there in the specific module. So we need to specify like this. So specify the module name dot, specify the method name, and you just pass the argument, whatever the argument that you wanted to give. That's it, you are done. Now you should be able to understand what is this Boto3 and all. You see guys, maybe let me execute it for now. I'm just executing main.py. Okay, so I'm just getting a error, name EC2 is not defined. That is expected, right? So because in my EC2 stop, this is my method, right? So here I'm actually using EC2, right? So that is the reason. So we need to do this declaration there. I did not save the file. Okay. Right, so the code is working as expected. So the only change that I did is actually moved my stuff it into a different module, and I'm importing the module and call the method from that module. Now you see guys, Boto3 dot client of, and I given some argument. So can you correlate this now? Can you understand this now? What is this mean by this Boto3 dot client? Both are same, right? So here also I'm calling my method using this using this syntax, right? That means Boto3 is the module which is actually written by AWS and that I have installed. In that module, there is a method called client, and for that method, we need to give some arguments. You are giving them inside a parenthesis, right? So the same way, EC2 stop is the method that I have written. Inside that there is a function, or there is a method called stop, which is expecting one argument, and I'm just calling that method by using this syntax stop and then specify the argument. That's it. Like that, whenever you are working on multiple features, multiple options, then you can start putting multiple files and just import them wherever you wanted to and write a code, so that at the end of the day you will be executing only one file. That file will take care of importing the other files as well, and it will take care of calling that modules as well or methods as well. Are we good with this? So this is what I am trying to show you, to differentiate or to understand the differences between method and a function. Hope we are good on this, right? So now let me do some more improvements on this. Right, the improvement that I'm doing now is I wanted to do the checking, right? So whether the instance ID is having the tag called web server or not, correct? So how do you get started with this, guys? So currently, if you look into the line number 7, this is where I'm getting the instances list, right? You see, so we have already seen that this is the syntax which will be giving you the list of EC2 instances, correct? So the for loop will be iterating through this list of EC2 instances, and each iteration, it is going to get the details of one server, and that server I'm actually appending it into my list format, correct? That's what I did it. Maybe this is the place where I need to take care of the checking process, correct? So whichever the instances that I'm actually appending it into the list, that list is being sent to the stop method to stop the servers, correct? That means logically, when I'm appending, this is where I need to check the condition. Agree with me, guys? If the tag instance tag name value is web server, then please append it. No, don't append it, correct? So that is what you need to do the checking here. If you wanted to do the checking, the each instance that you are going to get, right, you should be able to get the tags. If then you should know what will be the output of this instance underscore list value, correct? That means what will be the data type and what will be the data of this variable in each iteration. Once you know that information, then you can do the things. So how will you get all those things, guys? Probably now the time to uh, take one other test file. Technically, we need to do all those things from the interpreter, but as and when the program is going bigger and bigger, right? So sometimes going into the interpreter will be a little tedious as well, right? So you can take some other test file and write a business logic, then put it back to your original file. I'll show you what does it mean. So for now, right, for now, let me take this whole bunch of code. I'll just go to one other file called test.py. I'm just not disturbing my main.py, right? So let me go to test.py. Let me test this logic first of all. Okay, I'm trying to import Boto3, get the EC2 client and get the list of EC2 servers. And this is what I'm trying to do. Just print the instance list. Okay, so now let me see. I just wanted to see the output of this variable. That's it. Okay, let me execute this test.py. Following me, guys? Because once I know what is the data input here, then I should be planning how to do the data parsing. Okay, I got some output. So in this output, if we do little scroll up, it will be in confusion now because it is actually getting the instance, the complete list of EC2 servers and printing one by one, right? So sometimes it is confusing to know which data is for which server. What I do is I'll just do one more print statement. I just put some lines there. What I'm doing is this is just a developing strategy that I'm following, right? So now if you do if I execute this test.py, right? So if you look into the output now, if you look into the output, you see this is where I executed the test.py and the output is started here. Probably this is the first EC2 server data, correct? If you do little scroll down, you see here, what does it mean, guys? By this line, one server information is printed and this is executed. After this, the loop is repeated. This is your second server data. If you do little scroll down, by here the second iteration is completed, and now you see that the third server data is got printed, and now you see that this is ended. This just is separated to understand how the data is being printed, because I'm very much interested to get one specific EC2 server data, correct? So now let me go and collect one EC2 server data. It's gonna be the same for all other EC2 servers as well, right? I just need to worry about one server data for now to see how to, sorry, to see how to parse the data to get the tagging. Let me copy this one EC2 server, I think till here. Let me copy this data. Sorry guys. Starting from here, I just move it down till here, right? Done. Now let me see the JSON interpreter, JSON viewer. What is the input? What is the output format? Well, so this is the one EC2 server data. Let me click on format, and this is how the data. Now, what is that I'm interested now, guys? I'm interested to get the tagging, right? I wanted to know the tags of this EC2 server. So this is actually a dictionary. Inside the dictionary, if you do little scroll down, right, you can see the state here. If you do little scroll down, hope you guys are following me. If you do little scroll down, and you see this is where the tags are there, and you see that the tags is the key. The value is in the list format, which has two entries in the list because it has two tags. You see, this is the tag number one, and this is the tag number two. One tag is created by key and the value. The other tag key is name and the value is web server, something like this. So basically, I'm interested on this data, correct? So how do you get this data now, guys? Because I wanted to compare, or I wanted to check if the name tag has a value called web server or not. So I want this information now. How do you get this information? So this is the key that I'm interested in, right? So take this key name. Now come here, right? Now here, okay, in this variable, I'm interested on this particular key, correct? Let me take this. Right now, let me execute this code one more time. Now in each EC2 server, it is going to get only the tag key, and you see now the first EC2 server the tags, the second EC2 server tags, the third EC2 server tags. Now at least we are reached to one level, right? Now once you get to know that the format of the tags that you are able to see, then you do a one more level of data parsing. Now tell me guys, what is the data type here? The tax data. By now you should be able to tell by looking into the data as well. You see it is actually started with a bracket and it is a list. If you don't know, just print one more line here. Hey, I wanted to know what is the type of this data. You will get to know list or dictionary, whatever, then you plan accordingly, right? Now this is a list format, right? Tell me guys, my requirement is I want this information, correct? I need this web server, right? So how do you get the, how do you extract the data which is in the list format? This is the list, right? How do you extract the data which is in the list format? I'll be on mute for a second, guys. Sorry. So whenever you have the data in the list format, of course, we need to get the elements by the index, but we should not hard code the index, right? So I need to get each element at a time and process the data. So I need to depend on a for loop, correct? So any data that is in the list format, which has multiple elements in it, write a for loop get one value at a time and process the data, correct? Being said that, now since I know that this is in the list format, let me write a for loop to process this data, correct? What I do now here, so the print statement is already done. The print statement is just to see what kind of the data that I'm getting in, right? Now I don't need the print statement at all, right? So let me remove this print statement. Now let me write a for loop on this. For, and maybe I'll say tax. Any value is, any variable is fine. In, this is the list, correct? Colon. You see, I have one for loop. This for loop is all about getting the whole bunch of EC2 servers list. Inside the for loop, now I'm calling out one more for loop. This for loop will get you the tag details, correct? Now, when I'm going to this for loop, I wanted to know what will be the data of this variable each time when it is iterating one particular value, correct? Now, let me see what will be the output of this. I'll just go to a test.py. I'm just executing a test.py. Now you see the output, guys. This is the output, right? You compare the previous output. The previous output is in the list format, correct? This is in the list format. So now the list is going in a for loop. Each time when it is iterating, it will get one value, correct? You see, maybe I'll just make it bigger. The first time when the for loop is executed, it is going to get one key. You see, this is one tag, key value pair. Maybe in the first list, this is the first element, correct? Then you see the second element in the same list. Then the loop is repeated. Then it is getting the first element in the second list. Then the second element in the second list. Again, the loop is repeated, and it is getting the first element in the third list and the second element in the third list. So basically, now it is printing the each element of your list, correct? Good. Now in this, I wanted to have this particular uh, value, right? So I meant to say the key should be name, the value I'm trying to capture. Now, do I need to bother about this key called create by? I don't need it, right? So I need a key having the name, and I wanted to know what is the corresponding value. That value I wanted to compare. That is how a general flowchart, right? So now the next thing is the given data is in the dictionary. How do you get the value from the dictionary, guys? That is the next question, right? Obviously, we are going in a step by step, correct? Now I got the data in the dictionary. How to process the dictionary data to get the value that you are looking for? Of course, the dictionary data will be accessed using the key. But again, I don't know what is the key name at this time, right? So let's say the key name is name or something else. Here we know that the name is, sorry, the key name is name, but sometimes we don't know as well what will be the key name. So the best way to process the data which is in the dictionary format, you again go for a for loop, right? Because a dictionary has a multiple values, right? You see, even this dictionary has a multiple values. From the dictionary perspective, the first one is the key value. The second one is a one more key value, correct? Getting my guys? So from the, because if I go to the AWS, if I go to AWS, if I go to the tag section, from AWS perspective, name is the key and web server is the value, and you are getting this key and value as a heading format. It's so clear. when this data is converted it into the Python, you see key is the key of a dictionary and create by is the value. Value is the another key in the dictionary and PR is the value, correct? So that means I got a dictionary having two elements, right? Now, how do you process the data which is in the dictionary having multiple values? Again, I need to go for a for loop. So this is where you need to understand, okay, if I have the data in the dictionary format, how do I process it? Let me go for a for loop for, okay, so maybe I'll just say I, this is more confusing, right? So what will be the name of the variable? It should be more meaningful as well, correct? Let's say a tag data. I'm going to get the tag data for each tag. Now, I wanted to know what will be the value of this variable, correct? This is how you guys need to do the development, guys. Because once you process the dictionary, again, I wanted to know what will be the output, right? That's where I have written a print statement there. Now, let me run the test.py one more time to see what will be the output. Interesting. What is that you got it here, guys? I'll show you the code again. When I'm running the for loop against a dictionary, okay? When I'm running the for loop against a dictionary, when it is processing the dictionary, it is actually getting all the keys for you, correct? You see, key is the key, value is the key is the key, value is the key, correct? So this is actually printing all the keys only. You see, this is one key, this is another key, this is another key, another key. So it is actually printing all the keys only. It is not printing any values. By default, when you are giving the dictionary to a for loop, it is going to capture only the key names. It is not going to give you the values, guys. That's how it works. If you're really interested to get a values as well, then in your dictionary, you need to pass your method as items. For your dictionary, if you are giving items, then it is going to give you key and the value both. Okay, so then you are getting two elements, right? Then here you need to pass two values, key comma value. Now let me print the key. Sorry, I will print key and value dot format, right? So take the key and take the value. Let me see what will be the output of this syntax. I'm just giving the items over there. Now you can see here the output, the way how it is printing. Key is create by, the value is PR. Key is name, the value is web server. Key is create by of a second server, right? And the value. Are we good with this? At least I got to the shape that how it is in the AWS, right? I got the key, I got the value. Okay, I just wanted to show you this items method as well, if you wanted to get the key and the value both. For now, what is our strategy, guys? So I wanted to compare the key as name and the corresponding value is web server or not, correct? So let me compare the key first. So what I do is, if key equal to name, correct? So whenever the key is name, then I need to process that corresponding value, correct? Whenever the key is name, then I need a value. Agree with me, guys? Let me come back here one more time. If the key is created by, do I need to worry about the value? If I go to AWS again, if the key is created by, do I need to worry about value? No. I am interested to see if the key is name, then I wanted to know the value is web server or not. So I'm interested only on the key called name. So what I do is, hey, if the captured key is name, then I need the corresponding value. So take the value here, right? Now, is this value web server or not, correct? Maybe I can do like this. If, right, value is equal to web server, correct? Maybe if it is a web server, okay, look like I need to stop the server, correct? Now this is where you actually call the stop method. Now I wanted to stop it. Sorry. Now I wanted to stop it. Now a question for you guys. What is the instance ID, or how will you get the instance ID here? Because when I'm trying to stop the EC2 server, I need to pass the instance ID list, right? So give me a second. This one, right? Sorry. I have already got this list, right? This list I wanted to append, correct? I'm just making the list of EC2 servers, whichever the server having the name tag has a web server value, correct? Now tell me guys, how do I get the instance ID here? Because that instance ID I wanted to add it into the list. Can I get the instance ID from here? Maybe same syntax here, right? This one. It's gonna be tricky. We need to spend some time after the session and go this level by level. At least one program will enough. If you do see this, guys, the first for loop is still there, right? The first for loop is going to get one EC2 server data first, correct? Now you see this entire program, whatever you see from line number 7 to line number 12, this entire program is actually executing on one single EC2 server. Agree with me? I mean to say, the first for loop is going to give you one EC2 server data. That EC2 server data I'm processing with my whole bunch of data, whole bunch of code. Once that is done, it will go and get the second EC2 server data and it will process again. Once that is done, it will go and get the third EC2 server data and it will process again, because I have maintained that indentation here. So the line number 7 to line number 12 is all happening for one server, then the loop will be repeated. Being said that, whenever the tag name key is value is matching, if you wanted to know what is that instance ID, and definitely this is the instance ID under the instance underscore list, and we know that this is how we need to get the instance ID, right? We played around this exercise yesterday as well, how to get the instance ID. So that instance ID I'm just appending to my actual list. Now I think we are almost done. So my loop is completed. Now what I do is I just wanted to print the instance ID's value just to see after running this whole program what will be the data of my instance ID. I just wanted to see that, right? Let me execute it and let me verify this. Probably this is my test.py, right? Let me include. Yeah, this is fine. It has all the data. Yeah, looks good. Let me run this test.py. Sorry. Yeah, this should be good. Python space test.py. Hit enter. Okay, I'm getting this much of output, guys. Probably I don't want this whole bunch of test output. So this line can be commented. When you put a hash symbol that is commented, that line will not be printed. Okay. So usually you use the print statement during the development time. Later on you can remove that because I don't want to print them once you figure it out the actual logic, right? Now I got only one output. The output says that instance IDs is currently empty, right? Yeah, empty. Why it is empty? So do have the value called web server for at least one of the server? Yes. So the key is name, the value is web server. Let me come back to the code one more time and let me debug it further. Let me print this statement one more time just to see what is the value that we are capturing. And key is actually holding the key and value is actually holding the value, correct? Good. And whenever the key is name, okay, whenever the key is name, then the if condition will be executed. It will go inside the if, and that is where we are actually comparing the corresponding value is actually a web server. If that is true, it is going inside, and the corresponding instance ID it is going to append. Looks the logic is pretty good. Let me do one other change here, guys. So I just wanted to print a key. I'm just seeing the kind of the data that we will be getting in there. Okay. Interesting. You see, when I'm printing key, I'm actually getting key here. Sorry, it should be without a quote mark. Getting me? Then only it will be a variable, right? So let me execute it one more time. How many of you getting interesting? How many of you getting boredom? So this is how it works, guys. The reason why I'm spending the time like this, right? You should understand the way how the people will do the development. I don't want to copy paste some code and show you that it is working, right? So this is where we are actually struggling to see the input format and how to convert it into, right, the things. So let me do a small change for this code, then I'll talk about that, right? So let me comment it. Okay. So I'm getting some output here and 1, 2, 3, 4. How many servers that we have, guys? Ending with the D2, D2, that's okay. So I got some duplications that will be taken care later. At least now it is working. So I got total 3 servers ending with the D2, ending with the 52, ending with 41, right? So that means the line number 12 is executed. If the line number 12 is executed, because the instance IDs are appended, right? If it is executed, definitely it might have been processed the if condition. Whenever the condition is true, then only the code that is inside the if will be get executed, guys, because we are maintaining the indentation here, right? If the line number 11 is true, then only the line number 12 will be executed, right? If the line number 10 is true, then only the code which is there inside this if will be executed. So in this case, that 11 and 12 both are belong into a if condition of line number 10, because this indentation will help to understand that these follow-up lines are belonging into this if, all these lines are belonging into this for loop, all these lines will be belonging into this for loop. That's how this indentation will be strictly maintained there. Okay, so maybe I'll come here one more time to give you the insight how I got it at least working, right? So it is actually this is what is the, maybe I'll just print it here, guys. Print tags underscore list. Let me, yeah, let me remove this print. Now I'm interested to go back to this line one more time to see what will be the tag data. Okay, so the data is in the dictionary format, right? And again, as I see a question in the chat window, right, there is nothing, or sorry, there is nothing like correct or wrong. Okay, this is about the individual's thought process. Okay, so whatever I'm following here may not be the same always to achieve the goal, right? You can write a program in a different ways. I can write a program in a different way, right? So at the end of the day, it should work and give you the output. So how how much best practices that you are following, it's up to your knowledge and your capability to use the Python transformation techniques. Got me? Right? So because I see a question there that can we give the both key and value at one if, yes, we can do, right? We can just do mimics there, right? So I'm trying to see as part of the explanation, I'm trying to carry some Python concepts that I wanted to introduce and show you how that will be working. That's where I'm trying to focus on something. Okay. So now let me come back to this line number 8, and that is where I'm printing my tags one more time. Now this is what you are getting, right? So this is one tag and this is the second tag, this is the third tag. That is how I'm getting in. This is the web server, this is the web server, this is also a web server. Interesting. Do I have all the three servers in web server? Let me check that, guys, in line number, sorry, in my instances. Just to cross verify it's all working or not. So this is the web server. If I look into the other server here and let me look into the tags, this is also a web server. Let me look into the first server again and let me looking into the tags. Interesting. This is also a web server. Then how do I get to know that my code is working, right? Let me make one server as a app server. The name is, let's say, app server. Save it. Now let me see how it is working. Let me execute the python test.py one more time. Interesting, right? At least now this is good to know. One server is app server and two servers are web server. This is good. Okay. Now if I look into the data one more time, this is the dictionary having the key and the value. Let me remove this. Right. So if this is the dictionary, right? In this dictionary, if the key is name, then check for the value v is uppercase. If the value is web server, then please append it. So now let me comment this print statement one more time because I don't want to. Now let me enable this print statement. I wanted to see the instance IDs that is finalized. I just removed one of the for loop there. Now let me try to execute this Python program. Are we good with this now? You see now my final output has only two EC2 server IDs because there are only two servers having the web server name key and the value, correct? How it got working? Because I just have removed one more for loop there. That for loop is causing one more iteration. I think we don't need that iteration again because this is the dictionary, right? And actually, uh, from this dictionary, we got to know that the the key itself is the key and the value key itself is the value. I think this is more confusing because from the AWS language perspective, key value pair. From the dictionary perspective, it is a key value pair and the key itself is a key and the one other value key again it's showing value, right? That's where it is showing some confusion, right? I did not remove any duplicates here, right? I just removed one of the for loop that took care of making it into unique queue. Okay. If at all you got any duplicates, you just convert that it into a set. Let's say if you have the value in a list format where it has some duplicates, just convert the list to the a set data type. The set will automatically remove the duplicates and make it a unique queue for you. Okay. For now, we don't need to do any duplicate removal because removing this one for loop is took care of this whole stuff. Now I got my instance IDs, right? Something is happening. Well, So now I don't want to print the instance IDs, rather I wanted to call my stop function. I want to call the stop function and specify this instance IDs list, then that will take care of stopping the server. Where is my stop function? It is actually there in the module, right? We need to import that module and then call that method, right? So since we already familiar how to import the modules and how to call that methods inside the module, so I'm not following that approach each and every time. It makes more complicated for my testing, right? So hence the reason for now, let me bring my function back to my same program. Hope you guys are good with this, right? So I'm just putting my Python function here only, so that at least it's easy for me rather going into a different files every time, right? At least during the explanation time, right? So I'm not depending on multiple files. So I have the stop function and I am just passing it here. So let me run this code. That's it. Now it is actually stopping only 2 servers, not 3 servers. But in my AWS, I have 3 servers, but it is not processing all the 3 servers. Are we good with this? And again, looking into the chart window, yes, we can minimize this code it into multiple, like we can even minimize the total number of lines by making more best practice way, right? As I see suggestion in the chart window possible, right? I'm just trying to cover the concept to make you guys understanding that a for loop may contain a for loop, a if may contain a one more if. So I just wanted to make it as much as possible, trying to grab the Python concepts here. No other reason. Now, I'm not happy with this code because, right? Because if I look into my AWS guys, the servers are actually already stopped, correct? Servers are already stopped. Now, when you execute the code, hey Python, can you go and stop the servers? Whichever the servers are having a name tag as web server, right? The Python is saying that the server is now stopped. No, that is not true, right? The server is already stopped, correct? So this is not a right output. So what is that I'm interested in now, right? To improve this code further. Hey Python, whenever you are trying to stop the server, first you do check it. Is it already stopped? If this is already stop state, don't do anything. Why you need to attempt in stopping the server, right? Again, correct? If the server is not already stopped, then only you please go and stop the server. Is that realistic, guys? Correct, no? As of now, when I'm giving my EC2 instance IDs to this stop function, you see that it is actually taking the instance ID and trying to stop it. It is not checking whether the server is already stopped or not. It is directly trying to, it is directly going to stop the server, though it is already stop state. No, it is not a really a good program. Now, how do you check the server status if it is already in stop state, right? So this is the for loop. This is the basic for loop, right? Which is giving you all the EC2 servers list, correct? Like in each iteration, it is going to give you one EC2 server data, right? Even I have got captured the data and I kept it here, correct? So when you are actually capturing one EC2 server data, in this data itself, it will tell you what is the current state of your server. You see somewhere, state is the key and it has some value, and you see that the interesting. So the name is currently showing stopped. So Yeah, I think this is the one. So this is what you are interested on. So I need to capture this value and compare this value with stopped. If it is already stopped, don't do anything. If not, please go and stop it. That is what is the requirement, guys. How to get this value? How to get this value? The key is state. Okay. So how to get the value, guys? So here only, right? Here only what I'm doing is in this instance list, right? Before me adding my instance ID it into the list of servers to stop, right? Before that only I'm doing this compare one more check. If the key is name and the value is web server, then please do check if it is already in stop state, correct? So I wanted to get this value state, right? So always better to copy paste. I wanted to print this. So what will be the data that I may be getting in? So during this time, let me comment this particular line so that it will not call this stop function because I'm still doing some development here. I'm interested on this particular line at this time to see what kind of the data that I'm going to grab. Let me execute the code again. I'm really thinking all my logic now only, guys. I did not try this before as well. You see now there are two servers having the key as name and the value is web server. Those two servers state I'm currently capturing. The state is in a dictionary format again, right? And in this dictionary, I'm interested on the name key, correct? So what I do here is in this state, I'm interested on the name key, right? I'm interested on the name key. If this particular value is equal to stopped, right? If this is stopped, then you print that instance, specify the ID is already stopped and specify the formatting and specify the instance ID. So this is your instance ID, right? Specify the instance ID over there. If the server is not already stopped, correct? Sorry. Then it will be a else, right? If it is not already stopped, then that instance ID I'm going to give it into a instance IDs list. That's it. So here I'm checking whether the state is already stopped. This is the syntax issue, right? If it is already stopped, just print that it is already stopped. Else, you add that it into a list format. Now, let me remove this as well. Now you see, guys, it is actually telling that going to, hey, the instance is already stopped. Both are already not stop them. Are we good with this? Let me test this, okay? What I do is I'll go and start all the servers just to see how it works. right? The server is not in stop state, right? It is in different state now. Let me try to run the program again. Now you see the difference. The instance is now stopped, right? Because it is not already stopped. Now it is stopped. And if you go back to AWS and refresh here, you see that only 2 servers are stopped, not 3 servers. Why? Only there are 2 servers having the tag name as web server. You see, only the web servers are stopped. App server is still running there. Are we good with this? I just have added one more improvement to my code. I know it makes more confusing, but for the same use case, we need to go line by line, and we need to go to the. It's all about getting the data and see how to parse the data by going to the level by level, guys. That's it. Now, one other improvement that I wanted to do, maybe this is going to be little interesting, right? So if I look into the line number 18, this is where I'm actually stopping my server, right? What I'm doing, hey, stop the server and print a statement that the server is stopped, correct? Tell me, guys, what is the case if the server is not stopped for any reason, correct? Because this is all I mean to say the Python is actually executing a statement. It is just telling to AWS that, hey, stop the server. Is it really checking whether the server is really stopped or not, correct? No, right? It is not checking that. Following me? Sometimes the Python may tell to AWS that, hey, please stop the server. What is the case if AWS is not acted on? What is the case if AWS is not stopping the server for any reason, right? I should not assume that I should not assume that by calling the stop function, it is actually stopping the server. No, I need to verify that as well. How are you going to verify that? I don't want to print saying that the server is stopped without a verification. So in the line number 18, I'll say that stop the server. Then before me printing a confirmation here, I wanted to validate whether the server is really stopped or not. I in the sense what? Python has to validate. Hey Python, you stop the server, then you please check if the server is stopped or not. How? Same process. You see sometime back you have used some logic here. Hey, get the status of the server, correct? Get the status of the server. If the server is already in stop state, then you don't do it. If not, you stop it, right? Here you need to use the same logic again, right? I wanted to use the same logic. Use the logic again here. If it is stopped, then you print a confirmation, or else you please wait for it to be stopped. Agree with me? Of course. Now again, I need to ask my Python, hey, go and get the status, correct? So this is the line number 11, right? That I need to repeat again here. Not only line number 11, sorry, right? The line number 11 cannot be used as it is, right? So in this case, I have the instance ID with me, correct? I know what is the instance ID that I have stopped, correct? Now I wanted to know if this instance is currently in which state. All what you can do is describe the server one more time. This line number 4, I'm repeating again here, right? This is actually what? This is actually going to get the EC2 server informations, right? But this time I don't want to get all the servers. I'm very particular about the specific server, right? So now you get this instance ID. This is the for loop, right? So here you specify the instance ID. So that way, this line number 19 is going to get the details of a specific EC2 server, and I'm getting that information here. So this is a instance metadata. Once you get the details of a specific server, then you compare the state. This is your EC2 server data, guys. Previously, the reason why I went ahead with one for loop, the second for loop, all this, because I'm getting the data of multiple servers, right? I have 3 servers, right? That's where I went to one for loop here. So here I'm getting a specific server information. Whatever the instance ID that you given, that instance ID details only you will be getting in. If you have any confusion, just to see what will be the output of this statement. I'll just go to, maybe I can write one more file here, test1.py, just to check how the things work. I wanted to print this value, right? As usual, it should be having these 2 lines. I'm checking how this code works. Python test1.py. Sorry, I need to give the instance ID, right? I wanted to check how it works. I meant to say, what will be the data, what will be the output of this statement? I wanted to know this. The format, that is what is more important. You see, this is the format. One specific server, right? Whichever the server ID that you give, that server ID information you will be getting like this, right? So this is one server. So take this it into here, format it. Now you have to get the state, correct? So this is the state and this is the name. So you need to go by this line: reservations, instances, right? Then state, then name. That is the sequence. Once you understand that, then try to do this. This is instance metadata. Now try to see if you can capture that data. Instance meta. Inside this, I wanted to get these reservations, which is a dictionary, right? Okay. Inside that, this is a list, the 0th element, because we already did this exercise yesterday. I'm just directly, copy pasting this. This is how it will be, right? Almost same syntax. Then instances, right? After instances, it will be, after instances, it will be what? After instances, it will be state. Right? This is the state. Okay. After state, right? After state, again, it is a dictionary and it will be a name. Specify that. Now, let me print this. This is only one server, right? So there will be no looping. Okay. And you see, this is how I'm capturing the state. So just copy these two lines. Once you figure it out, the actual process, right? Copy these two lines. I think the first line is already there. Copy this line, go back to your actual program, right? And let me put it here, right? So this is the state. I have captured the state of your EC2 server it into a variable. The test1.py is actually for testing purpose, guys, because I don't want to do the development on my main program. It will be confusion at the end of the day, right? I'm disturbing this code, right? So that's the reason I have went to one other file and just checking the logic, what logic may works for us. Once you verify the logic here, then I don't need this file at all. You got me? I just captured that logic and I came here and I'm keeping my logic here. So now I can say if the state is equal to stopped, correct? If the state is equal to stopped, then you please print this statement, correct? Else, if the state is not stopped, right? So I'll say still EC2 is being stopped. It is still stopping. So I actually asked Python to stop the server at line number 18. Line number 19, I'm actually capturing the instance information. Line number 20, I'm actually capturing the exact state of the server. I'm comparing. If it is stopped, print it, else say that it is still stopping. Are we good with this? Let me execute this code to see what will happen. So this is test.py, right? Okay, it is saying that the instance is already stopped. That means what? It is not even executing my stop business logic, correct? Because the server is already stopped. If you wanted to know this status, first you bring up the servers. Yeah, now the servers are came up. Now let me execute it, guys. Let's see what will happen. You see, actually, this is interesting. It is not printing a statement like the server is now stopped, correct? Previously, it was saying that the server is now stopped. No, now it is printing that still EC2 is being stopped. You see why? The moment when it is initiated the stop, the server is not immediately stopped, right? It is in a different state. Usually, when you stop the server, initially the state will be stopping, correct? Agree with me? After some time only the state will be turning it into a stopped state. Maybe if you wanted to know that, let me stop this server just to see the behavior. You see, initially it will be stopping state. After some time only that will be turned into a stopped state, correct? So the moment when you have stopped the server, right? Immediately at next second you are checking the status. At the time of you are checking the status, your server status is not stopped, correct? That is the reason it is telling that it is still being stopped. But the problem here is what is the case? Once it is in stopping state, after that maybe it will not turn into stopped state. It is like hanging at the time of it is stopping. Got me? Of course, the stopping is initiated, but it is not stopped. It is hanging at the state. Then again, my Python program is not that much intelligence, right? So I need to ask my Python that, hey, you are checking the status the next second once you have stopped it. No, that will not work out because the server may take some time, maybe 10 seconds, 15 seconds. You wait for the time, then you verify the status, right? Then you report back to me whether the server is completely stopped or not. Are we good with this, guys? Is it the realistic? I'm including a lot of use cases. I'm trying to talk about the corresponding Python concepts at the same time. Now I need to tell to my Python that, hey Python, okay, you are checking the status. Is it stopped? No. Okay, you check the status again, correct? After a second, you check the status again. After a second, you check the status again. Like that, you keep on checking the status until unless the server is in stop state. Then only you report back to me that it is completely stopped, correct? Because that means at the end of the day, I'm interested on this line number 22, correct? If it is printing line number 22, that is instance ID is now stopped. That is the final output that I'm looking for. I'm not really worrying about this statement called still EC2 is being prepared for stop. No, I'm looking for instance is completely stopped. That is the final confirmation. So can you please repeat these two lines again and again? That is what I need to tell to my Python. Check the status is not stopped. Okay, again you check the status, not stopped. Again you check the status, not stopped. Again you check the status. That is what I need to tell to my Python. It is keep on checking for the server status. Now tell me guys how to make that happen. I want my Python to go in a loop to check the server status until the server status is in a stop state. It may take a minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes. You please wait for it to be stopped. Then you tell that the server is completely stopped. That's the final confirmation. So how will you tell to Python to wait, right? How will you tell to Python to wait until the server is stopped? Then you give me a proper message that the server is stopped. In general, when you are writing any Python program or any coding, rather you struggling to find out the logic, code logic. First you frame your English sentence, guys. Let's say here I'm framing my English sentence, right? Wait until the server is stop state. So that if you are able to make that English statement, then you convert it into a program later, right? Do you think the for loop will help here? For loop is also a looping, right? It is keep on iterating again and again, again and again, loop, go on loop. But it will not help the Python in this specific scenario. The Python is great in terms of looping. If you give some set of values, each iteration it is going to pick up one value and it will process it. But now in this case, we need to go with a while loop, right? So what I say is while, right? While true. So while is the looping again like a for loop only, but whenever you have the requirement like go in a loop until the condition is met. If that kind of the scenario, go with while. While true in the sense the condition is always true, right? While and for while we need to give the condition, right? The condition is always true. because I wanted to wait my program until, right? Uh, until that means that like the condition is true. In the sense, let's say while if I equal to 6 as an example, that means if I value is 6, then this expression is true, then only the for loop, the while loop will be executed. That is the meaning of this condition. But in our scenario, we don't have a specific condition, right? Our condition itself is like wait until the state is stopped. So we don't know when the state will be stop state. So that's the reason I'm going for true. It's always true. The while loop will continuously running, right? Now inside that you collect the state, then you compare the state, right? If that is, you see why I'm doing this indentation, because now my if condition should be inside a while loop. That's where I'm trying to put a indentation again. The print statement should be inside a if. The else should be inside a while loop. This print should be inside the else loop. I'm adjusting the indentation after having the while loop in place. While true, that means the condition is true. It is going to check the status, compare the status. Okay, this is not stop, right? Then else block, it is printing this. Again, it will go to the while loop. Again, it will be repeating, repeating, repeating. True is the condition that I am giving to my loop. That means until this condition is false, the loop will be continuously repeating. When it will be a false, we don't know, right? When it will be a false, whenever the server is stopped, whenever the server is in stop state, then I don't want the loop to be repeated, correct? Or else you need to do like this whole state, right? You need to give the state here. Whenever the state is stopped, getting me? This is how it should be. While, and you give the state, capture the state and compare the state with stopped, right? Whenever, sorry, not equal to, right? Whenever the state is not stopped, then you please go in a loop only. That's what you need to tell. Rather, going in this approach, the better strategy is make it a true always. Whenever you have the requirement met, you see this is the requirement, right? Whenever you have the requirement met, then you say that, hey, now you break the loop. So the while loop will continue executing until the server is in stop state. Once the server is in stop state, the if condition will be executed. Inside the if I said break, that means here you come out from this while loop because I got my expected state. If the server status is not stopped, then you print the else block. Maybe in the else block, I will say that continue. So if it is stop state, you come out from the while loop. If not, you please continue in this loop only. So something like that. Let me try to execute this code. That's okay because the servers are already stopped, right? So let me start them again. Usually, whoever is teaching the for loop, while loop, if condition, right, will be teaching like if 1 equal to 2, the condition will be true, then the following code will be executed. It will be like generic variables, generic values will be taken, right? Me, I'm actually taking the real scenario and I'm trying to work it out towards that. Well, my servers are running. Let me try to execute this code just to see what will happen. What's happening, guys? I'm not getting any output here. Is my code is really running or not? Right? If I look into the AWS side, the servers are actually stopping. You see, it actually stopped one server, then it is waiting. Correct? It is waiting. The second server is not going for stop. It executed one server, it is waiting there only. See, it is actually waiting. Once the first server is stopped, then it will proceed with the second server. Currently, it is actually waiting. You see now the server is in stop state. Come back here. What's happening? If it is stop state, I need to have this output printed. That's okay. Something is wrong. So I don't want this waiting state. Let me do Control C. So this block is causing some issue. Let me put print. I'll say like still in progress, right? I'm just putting some print statement here. Now let me execute it. So the thing is, if you do this kind of the print statement, at least while it is waiting for some input, it will at least give you the status here. Whoever is executing the code will understand that, okay, this is still in progress. If not, no, you will be in a question whether my program is stuck or not. Is it really working or not, correct? So this is how you can improvise your code, guys. So now you can think that probably it is still trying to stop the server. So let me see here. So Control C. That is fine. It is actually stopping the server. Only thing is this if condition is not working as expected. Okay, that is the reason it is still saying that it is in progress only because this condition is not working. So we need to do some little tweaking there to see why it is not working. Probably we need to see this value if it is really printing the or are we capturing the right data there. So are we capturing the right data there? So let me see this data, guys. STOPPED. Because whenever it know that it is stopped, then only the break will be run, or else it will be continuously running the while loop, right? It will not come out. So this condition is not working as expected. So I'm trying to see what is the value of this expression. How to see that value? I just need to start them again. All what you need to do is the use cases that I have done, you try to write a code by yourself to achieve these use cases. That's how we need to spend some time, guys. Okay. Now let me try to execute the code. I got the problem. Okay, so this is how we need to do the debugging, guys. Hope you still have some patience to look into this error. The problem that I see here is it is not able to execute the statement. It is not able to check the condition. Okay, it is not able to check the condition. Why? How I'm doing the troubleshooting? I'm actually printing here the state that I'm capturing here, right? Right, this is the state. What is the state that I'm printing or I'm comparing? If you see the state is pending actually. Okay, the state is pending. It captured the state as pending, and then it is comparing the state here, correct? But the actual server is in stop state. But why it is actually still checking with the status called pending? Because we did not refresh this. That means this particular line, you see the line number 19, this is the line which is going to get the latest server data, right? This line number 19 now should be inside the loop. Now each time when the loop is repeating, it is going to get the data from the AWS. That's a fresh state, right? This is the fresh state. Previously I captured one time, and then I'm comparing every time. It is not going to be changed, right? So get the latest and compare with that. Then it should work. A lot of logical sense. Let me try this now. Okay, so I'm just trying to, yeah, this is already running state, right? Good. Let me try to start it again. Okay, now let me come back and execute this code. This is the back and forth, guys. Need to do this. You see the state is printing stopping, right? The stopping in progress, stopping in progress, stopping in progress. So it is actually capturing the state. Whenever when the state is stopping, then it is actually showing that it is in progress. So much of output, right? Maybe I can remove this else block just to minimize this bunch of output. I'll execute it again. You see, after it is stopping the servers, you see the moment when the state is changing from stopping to stopped, then it is showing that the instance is stopped, your for loop is while loop is exited, your program is completed. I can run this program one more time, one final time, just to, okay, currently the pending state, right? I just removed the else block, guys, so that I don't want to get so much of output in my console. You see, it is pending. Now you see it is actually stopping. This is in stopping state. I'm actually printing to see what's happening. Now you see it is stopping. So much fast. You see here, once it is stopped, it is printing the output. Then it is going with the second server, and the second server is in stopping state. After some time, you will see that the second server also will be get stopped. Yes, if the instance, if the instance is in stopping state forever for any reason, your program will never end. That's true. Then again, we need to do a little more improvement. Hey, you wait for the server to be in stop state. If it is waiting for more than 5 minutes, then please you come out and report a error that the server has some issue. It is not going to be stopped. Maybe you can put a time limit there. If it is in stopping state for more than 5 minutes, please come out from the code, from the logic, and show the error that the server is having some issue, not able to stop. Yes, we can do the improvements. It's all how the requirement is. We can do that, right? Then rather comparing the state, we need to do a time limit there. Hey, after 5 minutes, please do come out from this state. We can do all of this. Okay, so that's how it works, guys. And once you know how it is working, maybe if you don't want the print statement, you can remove the print statements. Maybe this print statement, I don't need it, right? I use this print statement at the time of doing some development. After that, you just keep only the print statement, whichever is more meaningful. I don't want the remaining, right? That's it. You see now I got total 25 lines of the code, and this much of logic is implemented to get all these best practices. As part of the today's story, I have went through how to work with the for loop, what is the break and continue statements, and if conditions, and how to do the data parsing when it has multiple iterations, how to get the for loop for a list type of data, for loop for the dictionary type of the data, right? And what is the difference between function and methods? How do you import a method, and how to split your program it into multiple files just to make it more best practice? And yeah, so those are the things pretty much, right? So you need to do some little practice on this exercise, guys, to get some confidence on that. I think tomorrow I will cover the AWS Lambda. Okay, there is a significant uh, dependency is there with Lambda and Python. So I'll show you how to run your Python program in the Lambda in tomorrow lecture. I think for now looks good. So I'm going to publish this code because we spent some time, right? The same code I'm going to publish to my Bitbucket, and I'll give you the link. You guys can take the same code for referencing or some practicing, right? Any questions, do let me know, guys, or else we are good for today. I'll update this code link right to you guys to get this sample. And as I see a question in the chat window, yes, the Python will not only dealing with the list and dictionary, it also deals with a kind of 2D data structures as well. That's where it has to use different modules. So that will be more on data science related engineers, like whoever is in whoever is working on machine learning and data science, right? Those people will be using the 2D modeled data structures as well. Yes, the Python will support for that. But as a automation engineer, we don't need to deal with that kind of data structure, but the data science people and the machine learning people will definitely use that.